What am I, a movie review channel all of a sudden? Well, my recent upload schedule does seem to suggest as much, so might as well embrace it with Lady Ballers. This one, of course, stands out somewhat from the previous two, Napoleon and Godzilla, as this is a far smaller production created by the Daily Wire, as a sort of follow-up to their smash success, What is a Woman? Which is a question that does need to be asked in this day and age. The trailer released on Twitter to great acclaim, and apparently the movie Lady Ballers is currently breaking all kinds of viewership records over on the Daily Wire, so congratulations are absolutely in order, and a lot of people are super excited, myself included. Would this be another cutting comedic satire along the lines of The Producers or Idiocracy, perhaps? Well, unfortunately not, as I actually didn't like the movie very much. I will admit that when it comes to comedies, I am rather hard to please, but I think the main issue with Lady Ballers is timing. See, here's the thing. I am of the firm opinion that absurdity is a core and key component of humor. Not the only one, of course, but I might even go so far as to say one of the most important, as when something is absurd, it is generally accepted to be absurd by the majority of people who are, well, intended to be the audience of the thing. Something that you find automatically funny because it's so far out of the left field, it seems crazy, and therefore humorous. Lady Ballers makes this, as a joke, kind of the baseline of the entire movie. The idea is that men competing in women's sports is really, really dumb and incredibly absurd. Which it is, so you'd think this would be a smashing comedic success, right? But here's the problem. The first scene of the movie is set in 2008, and if this had been released in 2008, it would probably have been really goddamn funny. Ironically, it would probably have become a cult classic, and would be viewed today kind of like Demolition Man, as an oddly prophetic movie. But being released in 2023, particularly at the end of it, well, the issue is, everything the movie makes fun of is, well, real. It's not absurd because this is just the world right now. What the movie shows, for example, a man wrestling a woman and beating her senseless. That happened. That's in the real world. A enormous female swimmer outcompeting the swimmers by hilarious margins. That happened in the real world. That's just a thing. Men outrunning women in races, that happens. Men outcompeting women in cycling, that happened. Men outcompeting women in weightlifting, that happened. Men outcompeting women in rugby, this happens. This is just reality now, and it seriously undermines the absurdity, because even the reaction of the women in question, like, obviously look at the obvious men in their midst and like, God, even that you can see in reality. The joke isn't really a joke anymore because, well, it just is. And trying then to base the movie on the absurdity of the situation kind of falls flat. And it feels a lot like it's trying to preach to the choir, because I know this, I know it's absurd, I've been covering this stuff. Most of us have been covering this stuff on the internet for the last, 3, 4, 5 odd years, which is probably why it feels so blasé. There might very well be an audience out there who hasn't seen this and will look at it and go like, well, that is crazy, and more power to them, but to me, I would think, okay, what I think they should have done, from my perspective, to please my kind of audience, right, would probably be to turn this more into a dark comedy. Instead of having the characters embrace this and abuse it, which is what they do, they should be kind of finding themselves in an alternative reality. Like, imagine taking someone from 1995 and slapping him down in the 2030s and seeing his reaction as his eyes go wide and googly like, what the hell is going on? That, I think, would have been more interesting, making it a bit darker. Hell, God damn it. the amount of things, like, imagine talking to somebody from, like, the year 2000 today and telling them, oh yeah, the female world championship in heavyweight lifting is a man. No, he isn't. Oh yeah, no, it happened after Donald Trump was president. Excuse me? Who was president now? Oh yeah, Donald Trump. Did you hear that? Oh, it was after the Taliban defeated us in Iraq. Or in Afghanistan, excuse me. But still, the reactions would just continue, and then what the? You're making this shit up because it sounds crazy. And maybe that would have been a better angle. It also, the thing is, the movie drags. Oh boy, the joke is funny to begin with. Like, when the obvious man outruns the women easily, that's kind of funny, that's kind of absurd. If they'd maybe done a musical montage of that, or built this up into being a shorter movie, maybe an hour long instead of 2 hours long, it would have worked better. But as a feature-length film, there's simply not enough meat on this bone for it to remain interesting throughout. The characters, too, are very 2000s, and I do believe that was probably the point, but again, they're kind of misused. One of the few really genuinely interesting and funny moments was the actual out of left field, where one of them ends up having a man trapped in his basement. See, that was funny. That was kind of amusing, because I didn't see that one coming. But it is, how to put it? On the one hand, right, I kind of want to like the movie and praise it simply because it is something that is against the grain, right? And it is made by a group of people who can only make it because they've literally created their own platform with which to do so. It is against everything that is in the modern world allowed, right? It is a rebellious film, but simply liking it because it isn't the establishment, that alone, whilst an admirable fact in many ways, is not really quite enough. Down that path lies the allyship of the left, and I don't think we want to embrace that ideology anytime soon. And as a film, it just really isn't quite good enough, as it fails to do what a comedy really kind of needs to do, and that is to be funny, as what it really describes is just today, this year. And there were better ways to show off the humor of that, in my opinion, again. Is it worth a watch? Honestly, I would go so far as to say no. It is a very long movie, there's not a whole lot in it, it's not particularly clever, the jokes you could find in, well, and you probably have found, in half a dozen, if not 24,000 YouTube videos of the last half decade, etc. And it doesn't manage to capture what Is a Woman did. What Is a Woman did this far better in that it asked the absurd question and then posed it to people who had no problem answering it, because to them it was actually an absurd question, obviously. Maybe even focusing more in on the female journalist would have been a good angle, because delivering her as just the culmination of absolute coal black evil, I did appreciate, for that is the representation that the journalist class so thoroughly deserve. There are some other nice little tidbits here, there, and there as well, but it just doesn't form up into a good movie overall. It does have a solid narrative running through it, at least, so it's better than Napoleon. If I had to rank them, one movie after the other, Napoleon is still worse than Lady Ballers, but yeah, I'll spend your money on a Godzilla ticket instead. Until next time, I've been Arch, thank you all very much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again soon. Till then, have a good day.